Seed crop are to be handled carefully from the day they are sown till the day they are bagged and tagged. Harvesting of seeds is done after physiological maturity. This is the time when the seeds are at their maximum physiological potential. However, practical constraints prevent the seed producer from harvesting the seed at physiological maturity, especially when uneven maturity of crops in the field occur, where multiple pickings are needed. Cost of labor, use of machinery, weather at harvest are some of the most important causes. The seed producer must determine the most appropriate time of harvest depending on the seed crop, weather and economics. Delay in harvest will lead to weathering damage, or in some cases like pulses, the pods will dehisce and shed seeds. Hence, harvesting the crop at right time will not only improve the seed yield, but lead to production of vigorous seeds that are of uniform quality, shiny and fetch remunerative prices. Another parameter that governs the post harvest seed quality is the threshing method. There are several methods of threshing that range from manual, partly using machine, or completely mechanized harvest. Nowadays, either partly machine or completely machine harvest is noticed. Partly mechanization is noticed in cotton, groundnut, sunflower, pulses to name a few, while complete mechanization is noticed in rice and wheat. One of the most important post harvest operation is drying. Drying involves the elimination of moisture from seed to a safe level through the process of evaporation. Drying the seed produce to a safe limit permits easy and effective post harvest operations like threshing and storage. Drying depends on several weather parameters like relative humidity, temperature, wind and the seed itself. High relative humidity that is experienced during rain can lead to increase in seed moisture instead of loss of moisture from seed. Hence, the relative humidity must be between 60 to 70% for drying. Similarly, temperature also favors drying. Lower temperatures prevent easy drying, while higher temperatures can damage the seed proteins and thus reduce vigor. Wind also helps in drying the seed evenly, but wind helps in reducing the humidity and assists the temperature by evenly distributing among the seed, thus improving drying. It is similar to drying our clothes. Our clothes take long time to dry in winter than in summer, but seeds being alive, they must be exposed to temperatures that do not harm them. Even warm days with cool dry winds will help in even elimination of moisture from seeds. In our country, spring season is the best time to harvest and dry the seeds. Temperature in the atmosphere heats the water molecule present in the seed and converts it into water vapor. This water vapor diffuses from the seed surface to the atmosphere. When the water vapor near the seed surface escapes into atmosphere. It creates a low pressure at the surface which is filled by water vapor from inside the seed. Thus, the moisture migrates to the seed surface and slowly escapes into atmosphere. This phenomenon is called drying. The migration of water vapor from inner regions to outer surface must be done in a phased manner. If done too fast, the seeds may crack, and if done too slow, the cost of drying will increase. Hence, drying is an art which can be practiced for effective seed quality. Method of seed drying can be divided into two types. Natural drying, which is practiced by most farmers, is artificial drying, which is done using machinery, can be divided into four types based on the methods used, such as drying with forced air, drying with forced artificially heated air, drying with desiccants, and drying with infrared rays. The drying methods vary from crop to crop. In crops like rice, wheat, thinai, the whole plant is cut and dried before threshing, while in sesame and soya bean, whole plants are collected upon maturity and dried. In case of maize, the cobs are collected, while in bajra and sorghum, the panicles are cut and placed for drying. Among pulses, parts are picked, while in groundnut, the whole plant is pulled out along with parts and dried. In sunflower, mature heads, and in castor, mature seed stalk are collected and dried. Among fruit vegetables like tomato, brinjal, mature fruits are collected, while in chilies and bendi, dry pods are collected. Thus, the collection of mature seed itself varies among crops. After collection of mature pods or panicles or plants, they are allowed to dry on the threshing floor. This reduces the moisture and facilitates threshing operation. If they are not dry enough, the threshing efficiency will be lowered. Further, plant with high moisture will also lead to metabolic heating and increase in fungal damage. Sometimes field carryover of pests and diseases can also occur, which increase when the harvested produce is kept on the threshing floor to dry. This can be prevented by adopting pre-harvest sanitation spray. Pre-harvest sanitation spray involves the spraying of pesticides or fungicides prior to harvest that will kill the pest or their larvae and prevent them from infesting the produce while being dried on threshing floor. Pre-harvest sanitation spray will involve the spraying of 3 ml of chlorpyrifos per liter of water 15 days prior to harvest. Drying threshed seed produce involves careful handling, because if the seed crop is not handled properly, then admixture may result. Admixture happens when the seed crop get mixed with a non-seed crop or another variety. Further, the threshing floor must be cleaned before the seed crop is spread for drying. Before drying the seed crop, the threshing floor must be examined for cracks, crevices, and other crop parts. These cracks must be sealed, then the whole threshing floor must be cleaned. If there was rain during the previous day, the threshing floor must be mopped and then allowed to dry before the seed produce is spread. Drying involves several methods, as we have discussed earlier. In case of rice, the wheat and the straw is spread on the threshing floor to a 2 feet thickness and then upturned using a stick during noon and in the evening. In case of pulse pods, they have to be spread evenly as a single layer. In case of sunflower heads, panicles of bajra, sorghum, maize cobs, bendy pods, these are again spread and dried. Gingerly and soybean plants are heaped on the threshing floor and allowed to completely dry by staking. Groundnut parts are stripped from plants and then dried. While drying, care must be taken to dry the produce between 9 to 12 am and between 4 to 6 pm. The hottest part of the day between 12 to 4 pm is avoided. Similarly, during night the produce is heaped and then covered with tarpaulin to prevent cool night breeze from dew formation. Another practice that is recommended is the use of tarpaulin to dry the seed produce. Drying pods or panicles directly on the threshing floor may sometimes lead to sun check damage in rice and wheat. This is caused by excessive heat of the threshing floor that leads to cracks in rice kernel. Such seeds are easily damaged during post harvest operations and also are poor storers. Further, drying on a tarpaulin will also prevent the damage caused by sudden rain or wet threshing floor. Ease of transport and covering the seed during night. The major benefits of natural drying is that they are easy to do and do not involve additional cost except the labor needed to carry the seeds to the threshing floor and tending them while drying. However, the major hurdle is the weather. If the weather is warm, drying is easy, but during rains or winter, drying is impossible. Thus, artificial methods have to be used for drying. Seeds of high moisture, especially 17% or higher, are better dried using conventional method. Under such cases, seeds are dried naturally to lower the moisture content below 12%, followed by artificial drying. Major hurdle posed by natural drying is the slower rate of drying, large area required for drying, loss caused by insects, animals and contamination by dirt and foreign material that are some of the major problems faced by natural drying. Artificial methods involve the use of drying machines. Several drying machines are available in the market that can dry few quintals to few tons per hour. Just like natural drying, in artificial drying we need to check the seed moisture because the seed moisture determines the temperature of drying air. Higher the seed moisture, lower should be the drying air temperature and vice versa. At 18 to 30% seed moisture, the air temperature must be 32 degrees centigrade, and for seeds of 10 to 18% moisture, air temperature of 42 degrees centigrade is recommended, while for seeds of moisture below 10%, higher temperature of 43 degrees centigrade can be provided. Thus, you have noticed that reduction in seed moisture leads to exposure to higher air temperature. Exposing seeds with higher moisture to higher temperature can lead to damaging seeds and reduced vigor. Similarly, exposing seeds with lower moisture to lower air drying air will lead to increase in seed moisture, thus reducing its storage potential. Often we find that after some time, even exposing the seeds to continuous dry air, seeds do not lose moisture. This phenomenon is called seed equilibrium moisture. Equilibrium moisture is a state where the seed neither loses moisture nor absorbs moisture or otherwise. We can say the seed is in equilibrium with the drying air. Under such conditions, we must increase the air temperature to speed up the drying process. Hence, constant monitoring of seed moisture is a prerequisite during seed drying. If the temperature of the drying air is so important, then what are the recommended drying temperature for various crops. In case of wheat, barley, the temperature is 43 to 55 degrees centigrade, while for rice it is 50 to 60 degrees centigrade, for maize 40 to 45 degrees centigrade, groundnut 36 degrees centigrade, soya bean 30 to 55 degrees centigrade, onion 22 to 33 degrees centigrade, etc. You would notice that cereals and millets tolerate higher temperature than oilseeds or vegetables. Each crop has a specific range of drying temperature and that has to be constantly maintained during drying. The rate of drying depends on the initial seed moisture content, depth of seed spread, size of the bin, rate of airflow, temperature and relative humidity of the air used for drying and drying temperature. All these factors affect the rate of drying. The job of the seed producing unit manager is to monitor the required levels to improve the drying efficiency. There are basically two types of dryers. The first one is a batch or bin dryer. These dryers dry the seeds in batches in bins or holding tanks. Thus, they are called batch or bin dryers. In case of continuous flow dryers, seed pour through dryers and simultaneously exposed to dry air leading to seed drying. Depending on the method by which air is blown into the dryers can again be divided into two types known as forced air natural dryers and forced heated air natural dryers. The forced natural air dryer is easy to maintain, thus drying can be slow and is subject to weather conditions. Heated air dryers uses blowing heated air over the seed surface. Thus, these dryers dry the seed evenly and are not affected by weather conditions. A circular metal bin dryer is one such dryer. The circular bins are trays that are perforated to pass air. These trays are arranged one over other and packed into the dryer. The seeds are spread and placed in the dryer. Heated air is poured through the dryer. Temperature and drying rate are fixed and thus drying is even. After fixed time, the trays are removed and cooled before packing. Similar to the circular bin dryer is the rectangular bin dryer. Here, rectangular bins or trays with circular wire bottom are used instead of circular bins. Louisiana State University dryer, also popularly known as LSU dryer, is one such dryer which is commonly used to dry paddy seeds in paddy processing unit. Such dryer can also be used for drying seeds. There are two types of such dryers. One is called a non-column dryer that consists of tall vertical column through which seeds fall through by gravity. As they fall, heated air flow upwards and dry the seeds. The major advantage of LSU dryer is that the drying period is short, it can be operated under any weather conditions and drying is more uniform. Rotary dryer is another type of dryer where a rotating drum serves as drying surface. Seeds pour through the input and heated air is passed through the dryer. As the drum rotates, a series of baffles built into the drum wall churn the seeds for effective drying. Dried seeds are then let out from the outlet found at the other end of the drum. A continuous box dryer is a large dryer where perforated boxes that hold large quantity of seeds move into the dryer and held until dried. As one box dries, another box move into the dryer. A continuous box dryer can also be called a wagon dryer. The major advantages of mechanical dryers are that they are quick, often uniform dryer and are not affected by weather conditions. The loss caused by pests like rodents and birds are not possible. Similarly, the spoilage caused by overheating can be avoided. Damage during processing can be avoided, thus safe heat storage potential is ensured. However, the major disadvantages are due to initial higher cost of purchase and establishment, cost of electricity or fuel, fire hazard and trained manpower, which is necessary but may not be available always. Similar to mechanical dryers, chemical dryers are also available. These use desiccants as a means to absorb moisture from seeds. Desiccants are chemicals that absorb moisture on their surface without getting wet. Upon heating, they can be reused. Desiccants are inert and thus do not affect the seeds. Silica gel and calcium oxide are some of the desiccants. Chemical dryers dry seeds over perforated metal trays that expose them to silica gel. Once the silica gel absorbs sufficient moisture, the silica gel is heated to dry it, thus making it active, a process called reactivation. This reactivated silica gel is again used to dry the seeds. Thus, the silica gel is rotated under the seed trays, continuously absorbing moisture. The advantages of chemical dryers are that they can be used under any weather. Since silica gel is used, being chemically inert, silica gel does not affect seed in any way. The chemical can be reused again and again. The major disadvantage is that the dryer uses electricity to dry the desiccant before reuse. Dear students, in this lesson we listened to the methods of harvesting of various types of seed crops, drying methods, types of drying methods, the role of natural and artificial drying, types of mechanical dryers, their advantages and disadvantages. The type of drying used to seed crop will depend upon the cost effectiveness of the producer.